Okay, welcome back, members of the public and members of council. We will reconvene this special council meeting. And we were interrupted at the point where Councillor Chan had the floor and was speaking to the motion that was moved by Regional Councillor Pirelli and seconded by Councillor Barros. Councillor Chan, you have 1:09 on the clock, but I know that you've lost the good part of another minute as you were being interrupted. So take your time. You have approximately 2 minutes. Go ahead, Councillor Chan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think it's expected that we carry our meeting in a professional manner so that different viewpoints can be shared and debated. There may be heated and spirited discussion, and so be it. I'll make it very short. In short, I acknowledge that options, whether by appointment, by election, it would have its pros and cons. And it's nothing one could say 100% perfect, regardless which option we go to. And there are different ways to hear from the public. Yes, it would be the ideal situation with a biased, scientific, professional polling company to do this. And we dealt with that with the previous item. Now the attention is now on this motion. And the motion, basically the main content of it, I was trying to indicate earlier, was actually in the staff report a week ago. But of course, now it's certainly much more elaborated. It's as indicated by the clerk on page 3 of the hard copy, and it indicated all the proper steps, and also with additional one, which is to include internet online voting in view of the pandemic, in view of that. And I did share previously members of council on our own effort that did seek input from the public. And I would just end with, I just mentioned early on before being interrupted, out of all the incoming emails, unsolicited, not solicited by me for sure, that come to our attention through the clerks, 74% of those are say they won by election. Now, is that something represent the whole population? Of course, honestly, I can say that's the case. But again, listen to the delegates, that people who came to address council this morning. 4 of the 5 spoke in favor of the by-election. Like, to me, the most weighing argument is that, I said it before, Richmond Hill people should have a say on the position of mayor. It's the mayor, it's the representative of the whole city. It represents our image, it represents our brand. So I'm not saying anything further on this particular important subject. I just want to say I'm in support of the motion in front of us. Go to the people in a by-election. It's not something we really, well, not, I shouldn't say we. I personally would like to have gone to a by-election, but respecting Mayor Barrow retire for his own reasons. And we need to have the mandate. When I say we, maybe I should retreat by saying I believe that council needs a mandate from the people through a by-election.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chan.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who else hasn't spoken yet and wants to speak to the main motion? Councillor Barros. Oh, you have. You had an opportunity. You said you had nothing to add when you seconded the motion.
Yeah, I had the two
I will go
fingers
to
up.
you on a second
I want
round.
to speak on the second round as a wrap up. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also have to say that I'm quite shocked that Councillor Silivit's motion was failed. We tried to do a democratic way, asking people what they want, and and we didn't go that route. So, this is quite troublesome. It put us into a very awkward situation. So every other every single councillor, they go out and did a survey, and they have different results. And then it depends on how you define overwhelming. Because what I'm seeing today, yes, I receive lots of emails, and there are 38 correspondents plus 5 delegates. We have 6,000 households in all of Richmond Hill. And I don't know how this number can represent the majority, to be honest with you. But now it leaves us a choice that either we are going for by-election or appointment. So with the 2 choices in front of me, without properly consulting the public, and I have to stick to my own belief, as I always said for the previous 2 meetings. I am all for by-election because I think the people of Richmond Hill should and deserve to choose their own mayor. This is a very tough decision for me because I don't like both. I want to go out to the public, ask for their opinion, which helped me to make my decision. If we're not going to listen to the public, why do a survey? But if it comes down to by-election or appointment with my conscience, I'm going to go for by-election. I have no choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yu. Okay, on the first round, I just want to say a few words. Under normal circumstances, I think the by-election is the best way to go. In the past, Richmond Hill Council has had vacancies at a very similar time frame. I think we've had two instances in the past where a vacancy occurred close to 1 year from the next election. Both those cases, they did go by way of appointment. I had in one case strongly been advocating that a by-election is the best way, but a by-election and a ward is a very different situation and something that can be handled and managed. If a ward is without a representative, I think they should be able to choose another representative. But in every case, in every municipality, staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's never been a by-election for the mayor role at this stage of a term. Any other council that's facing this position or this situation appoint someone to fill the mayor role, appoint someone to fill that regional councillor seat, and then has a runoff in the ward. That is how any other municipality would proceed in this case. In the case of an appointment, in the case of a by-election, we likely do not change the composition of council. We have the same 8 members, but it's likely that one of the councillors will be chosen mayor, and for anyone who thinks a tie can be broken via a by-election, that's not likely to be the case. We may shuffle the chair seat, but the same 8 members of council would be here. Now, when we speak about an appointment, I'm not opposed to appointing someone who's not currently a member of council. That is the only way to break a 4-to-4 tie situation that happens when there's 8 members. There's a reason we have 9 members, and all councils generally have an odd number to avoid that. And I think our residents are so qualified and experienced, and there's so many past members of council and people that have represented us at other levels of government that have been voted in by the city as a whole to represent us provincially or federally. I think we can find someone who could sit in the mayor's seat for 4 months and do a good job adjudicating and conducting the council meetings. And so that is an option. I'm not advocating for appointment and any other reason than to have a mechanism to fill the vacancy that allows the proper due process to take place in the next regular municipal election that's scheduled to begin in May 1st. We're only 7 months right now from that municipal process beginning, and the by-election is going to take, as the clerk said, 3 to 4 months to get someone on the council. So, as budget chair, the $600,000 cost is very serious. The staff is recommending taking it from the tax rate stabilization reserve. We only have 2 to 3 million in that reserve. It is very important to use that tax rate stabilization reserve to truly mitigate against other pressures to keep our taxes low. We've done an excellent job of keeping our taxes low, but we've made a lot of decisions where we've eliminated, for $40,000 a year programs that are valuable to our residents. There's so many other ways in which that $600,000 could be used than to have a chair for our meetings for 3 or 4 months when we are capable of appointing someone, and then we are going to have that election. The residents of Richmond Hill are going to decide the composition of this council. Every seat is up for election. 1 year from now, there'll be a new council elected. My preference is to allow that to just play out. I think that's the right way to go. But so I'm not supporting the motion on the floor, but I do want I do want us to discuss on October 13th what to do. We have to make a decision. We have to give our clerk notice on October 13th. The only reason I'm not supporting this is I don't want to take off the floor the option to appoint even a citizen member, if not someone from this council, to fulfill the mayor's role. I'm really regretful that we're not doing a scientific survey of our residents, because I think that would have given us some valuable information rather than basing such an important decision on the few that have weighed in. So that's where I stand. I did see someone else want to speak on a second round. Councillor Barros, go ahead.
Thank you. First, through you to the clerk, could you remind us again if we chose to appoint someone from outside of the municipality, what the timelines looked like?
Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair, the council's approved procedures for appointments say that if you're doing an appointment, I would be obligated to advertise the vacancy in the local newspaper for a minimum 4-week period. So if we were to use today as that guideline, the earliest I could get an advertisement in the paper would be for next Thursday's paper, which means I would be advertising on the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. You would have to allow a time for the application period to complete. If we use a 1 week following the final paper notice, that would be approximately the 4th of November. And then I would need time to actually put an agenda together with all those applications. So essentially, to do an appointment at this juncture, you'd have to, you're talking about doing the appointment from anywhere from about the 15th to the 19th of November.
Councillor Barros?
Thank you. When it comes to a vote of this magnitude, Mr. Chair, I believe it's important that all members that are in attendance are able to vote. They've been democratically elected to their position, and each vote matters. So I'm going to ask you for the last time, sir. Deputy Mayor, Regional Councillor Pirelli is here, and his vote should matter on this motion.
Councillor Barros, I certainly don't want an important vote of this magnitude to be affected by the absence of a member who was present at one time during the meeting. If Regional Councillor Pirelli is standing by and wants to sincerely apologize for his behavior, accept responsibility for disruption of the meeting, and I will permit him to sit in and cast a vote as long as he agrees not to speak out of turn.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I believe that's the judicious thing to do. If you'll give me a moment, I'll just go to his office and tell him that.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to speak while Councillor Barros is leaving chambers? Councillor Munch on the second round.
Good day. So wherever our council decides as a whole, I hope that you vote for the best interests of the organization and of the people that we're and businesses that we serve. And I hope that we'll be consistent going forward. I know I will be. And I hope that, and I will going to remind everybody today that if you're going to listen to our residents of what you have, great. We as a council have decided we don't want any more information from our public. We're ready to make a decision based on what you've got. If we think this is the best interest of the organization and the people going forward, and potentially having 5 elections in the next year, because we are going to have a regional meet. If a member of council becomes mayor, we're going to have an election on that. And then if another member moves there, we'll have another guy. And if anybody votes for an appointment, entirely hypocritical. So the cost of having 5 elections inside of a year for a 4-month head of council role, I believe some of the public, from what I've heard, are going to say, what a waste of money. You guys can't get your act together. I caution members of council. We've chosen not to engage the public. Now I think we have to govern, and we need to manage effectively. Keep spending money needlessly and not governing, because we can't really govern as this process is going forward, because we all know likely members of council are going to run forward. How are we going to reconcile a vision and direction? I say to you, the public do not want multiple elections and a waste of money. I heard it federally. The residents that I've spoken to are saying, when they get the full information and they say, what? You guys did all of that? And in no way, shape, or form, if we move forward with a by-election, will I be endorsing an appointment process going forward. So for those that say they're going to go forward on an appointment because they've got this sort of understanding and how they're going to go forward, I caution them, because the electorate will not stand for it. I'm convinced of that. That's food for the wise. I think we should move forwards on moving our municipality. We should move forwards knowing we have a general election coming forward next year, and we should be held accountable for what we're doing now today and other things that we did. The residents, to me, have clearly said, when I engage them, not on a frivolous, this motion that we didn't move forward today to get wholesome feedback, now means that we have to manage ourselves. That's my view. I'll be held accountable, as members of council have told me today, on how I'm voting on this. I say the same thing to all of you. I hope you think of this in the best interest of Richmond Hill, because we all know what the scenarios would be, and we all know what the likelihood is and going forward. And if we do have a by-election and a member of council wins that seat, I'm expecting a by-election again, because that's what we're saying today. There'd be no rationale if time doesn't matter. And I'm not sure the public wants to spend $1.5 and $1.8 million to get a bunch of politicians who can't work to govern. It's my view. I would have much preferred to at least spend 2 weeks to hear feedback, because there are people of public that aren't even aware that there's a by-election, or that there could be an appointment, or that Mayor Barrow is no longer there. When they find out, they're going to say, what are you guys doing? 30% of the people vote in a general election. Does that mean and a by-election is less. That means 20% are going to vote. And of 20%, say 50% vote for one candidate, 10% of people are going to decide how we're going to be governed, spending that kind of money because some people
1
want
minute.
different positions. I say to you, I would have loved a survey to get feedback so we could have qualified what we're going. Now they need leadership. It's up to us to move forwards. Let's move forwards saying we're not going to waste taxpayers' dollars. We're going to move forwards on a governance model and appoint somebody who can help us lead and work collaboratively for the next year and let the public decide in a general election. That'd be my hope. I really hope everybody listens to the constituents, listens to what is reality. We just had a federal election. People spoke loud and clear. People don't vote for politicians, they vote them out. Be cognizant of that. Do the right thing. Let's govern, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Munch. And Mr. Clerk, I'll just mention that Regional Councillor Pirelli's rejoined the meeting on the condition he won't speak out of turn. And we appreciate that. And Councillor Barros, you did have the floor and some more time if you wanted. There was a couple of minutes left when you endeavored to get.
Thank you. I don't think I need to
Councillor.
belabor the point. We have an awful lot of emails that have come in, an awful lot of online, and the majority of people have been advocating for a by-election. They want the choice. They don't want the choice to lie with us. And to the notion that one member raised that we could perhaps appoint someone from outside of our ranks, well, that again takes it out of the public's choice. We've chosen someone that we as a group felt was the best person for the job, and the public, they want to put that person in there. So I leave it with my colleagues. I believe that a by-election is the most appropriate way to put a mayor in place. And I said before, to reference a previous comment, if this was merely a local councillor's seat, I would be comfortable with a appointment. But this is not a local councillor seat. This is a city-wide mayor, the head of council, someone to bring us all together. So I've seconded the motion for that reason. Thank you.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Pirelli had a short comment to make, not in reference to the motion, but to perhaps why he's back.
There's no need to do that, but Regional Councillor Pirelli, you've got 5 minutes to speak to the motion on the floor.
Would that be as a wrap-up or as a second opportunity?
Second round.
Okay, thank you. I've been listening carefully, and thank you for council for reinstating me back into this meeting. You know, everybody knows who I am. I'm very passionate about what I believe in, and sometimes I get carried away. And, you know, thank you for the opportunity to come back because I think it's important. And I will try and keep my passion under control. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've listened to Councillor Munch, and Councillor Munch and I had a nice discussion the other evening, and we discussed what the chairman and Councillor Munch are speaking about, and that is appointing someone to fill the position of mayor for the interim. The part that it really doesn't fit is that if council chooses to go to an appointment outside of council, it does not preclude members of council for putting their name in to be appointed. So again, we can still end up, even in an appointment, with the same number of councillors of 8, depending on what the members of council choose. So in either case, a by-election or an appointment, we can find someone from the outside that wins, or we can find someone from inside that wins. So that doesn't change. The only difference, and the most important thing, I believe, is that in one scenario, you take away the voice of the people, and the other one, you don't. And the only option to me that makes any sense is to not take away the voice of the people and let the people decide who they want their mayor to be. To speak to the other point that Councillor Munch made, which is very important, what happens if one of the members of council is successful in the by-election? Are we going to have another by-election and then another by-election, another by-election? Well, the good news is that we don't have to, as a council, then for example, if one of the regional councillors were to win the by-election, then we could appoint a interim regional councillor. At that point, it would be actually less than a couple of months till the start of the election and about 6 months to the election, the general election. And that would make sense at that time if that was the case. And then, of course, if someone were to be appointed from council, we could immediately appoint someone to fill the ward council if one of the ward councils was successful in getting an appointment to the regional seat. So it could be done in a very quick period of time before March, if that's council's will. And so, considering all of these factors, I think the last concluding remark is simple. Are we going to have the mayor, which is the most important role in a corporation? He acts as the chief executive officer of the corporation. He has responsibilities and duties far exceeding those of any other member of council. And he sets the tone and the vision for the city moving forward. And I think it's important that the people of Richmond Hill, as was stated by my council colleagues, some of them, we have heard from the residents. Those that wanted to get involved clearly had lots of time to come and speak up today. They took the time to delegate. They took the time to send in letters. And I would suggest to everyone here that those that did not comment, because they all had an opportunity to do so, those that did not comment have the faith in us to make the right decision. And I believe that faith is based on the fact that they have heard us loud and clear at the last meeting and at today's meeting that we're all speaking about a by-election. And so they trust that we will, as a council, make the right decision. We're always faced with the opportunity of saying, did we make the right decision? Well, that's what leaders do. We make the right decision on behalf of the city of Richmond Hill. We make great decisions on the height of skyrise buildings and the traffic congestion. And I think we'll make the right decision here today. And my motion is to bring it to next week so that we can have the proper notification for the people and let them give him another opportunity to come and speak next week if a by-election is the proper way to go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see other members of council that want to speak to this. I'm just going to say again that I'll be voting against the motion as it reads because it ties our hands and limits what we can do on October 13th. We have to make the decision, but there's a lot of other options, and if the instruction is given for this one option only, then we're limited in what we can do. And I don't think it's been mentioned, but in a year where we have a federal provincial election in June and then our own election 1 year from now, in a 12-month period where we're voting for all three levels of government, I'm stating the reasons why I'm voting against the motion. I don't want a fourth our residents to have a fourth election, but I will accept your point of order.
But is this your third time speaking?
No, it's my second time, and then the mover has an option for a 3-minute wrap up if he chooses.
Okay, I'll just ask for a recorded vote then when we're ready. Thank you.
Okay, so for the reasons I cited earlier, and my real concern for the finances of this organization, and the truest, fairest process to conduct a race for mayor is at the regularly scheduled municipal elections. We are 1 year away from that, and just 7 months from that process beginning. So I'm against the motion on the floor. As the mover, Regional Councillor, do you want to wrap up? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to be clear and concise, the by-election will be the voice of the people. They will set the mandate straight. The amount of money in $600,000 in a $300 million budget is not something that we should consider as being a determining factor in democracy. There's always going to be lots of decisions that we need to make. We have lots of elections. The federal government called an election. It was voted upon. The people went in. They did in-person voting. The people of, and that tells us that the residents of Richmond Hill and Canada at large, they do want to be consulted. They do want to vote. They risk their personal safety by going into waiting in line to vote in an election during a pandemic. And if that doesn't tell us that the only proper way to do this is a by-election, I don't know what else will. So I'm happy to vote. And as Councillor Barrows said, a recorded vote. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. For you voting on the motion of Councillors Pearlie, seconded by Councillor Barrows, to elect option 1 and option 1A in staff report SRCFS 21.055. Councillor Barrows.
Yes.
Thank you. Acting Mayor DePaula.
No.
Thank you. Councillor Munch.
No.
Thank you. Councillor West.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Silovitz.
No.
Thank you. Regional Local Councillor Pearlie.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Liu.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion does carry.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, you've got your instructions then to come forward for October 13th. And we do have one other item on the agenda today. It regards staff report 21.055, the options to fill vacancy in the office of a mayor being received, and that council provides direction on the filling of the vacancy, the office of mayor, and the fact that we have to appoint an alternate regional councillor during the vacancy. So members of council, we need to identify an individual, presumably from this council, to represent us at the region. We have 2 votes currently. With the vacancy of the mayor, we need to have a 3rd vote at that regional council in the regional council process. It's very important to Richmond Hill. I don't have any suggestions, recommendations on how this is filled, but I'll put it out there. Councillor West.
Thank you. So I think the most logical way to go, we've been talking about efficiency and so on for some of this meeting. Councillor Chan has been acting in that role since, I guess, February when Mayor Barrow took leave. I would recommend the most efficient way to go would be to continue with that. So I would put his name forward. Yeah, I think he's done a good job at that in that role. I think that he is. I think he got the most votes in the last election, which I think as a ward councillor probably is a criteria that we could use. And I could be wrong, but I think he may also be the most longstanding member of this council, which I think could also be used as a deciding criteria. So those would be my 3 reasons and my recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Pearlie.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask if Councillor Chan would be willing to accept the nomination. So if he's willing to accept, then I'd be happy to second the motion.
it's up to my colleagues to make that decision. But I'll be honored and to earn your faith and trust to have an opportunity to serve at the regional council. Thank you. So answer is yes.
Thank you, Councillor Chan. Just a correction, I believe Councillor Chan and Councillor Barros are equally serving in time. I think they started at the same time. So we have two tied for that position. As we know, Councillor Barros is already the alternate for any member of regional council that cannot attend. And we need someone to fill the alternate position. And I'm happy to second Councillor Chan. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? Councillor Munch?
So I would like to know if Councillor Chan, I don't think that we should be appointing somebody with an unfair advantage. So I would say to you that any member of council, I would like to say that we already elected Councillor Barros as our alternate, elected him as a council alternate. The others were appointed positions by a now resigned member of council. As we are going into a by-election, and it's likely one of the regional councillors or both of them may run for that position, and this could be a permanent situation, I would ask that this is a temporary role, and that if we're going to put your name forward, you do not have an unfair approach as to the next election that you're going to be running as a regional in an unfair, unelected manner. So I would ask that if the member has an intention, political aspirations to go for a regional, to give the democratic process the opportunity to unfold and not put his name forward. If on the other side of it, he has no intention to stay and wants to stay as the Ward 6 councillor, then no problem. And I would say that to every other member of council as well. It's a serious role. And I think it's fair and just, not just a political appointment for other measures. So I would ask the Councillor Chan, are you intending to run in the next election as a regional? And if so,
Point of order.
Councillor Barros?
I don't think this is a fair way of this rolling. Member is allowed to debate a motion that's on the floor, but to ask someone their intentions in a future election, I find it highly unusual. And you could utilize the fact that maybe he's trying to wreck his reputation for my point of order to actually be a point of order. But I think you need to stop the questioning where it is.
Well, Councillor Chan is not compelled to answer the question, but it's a fair comment by the councillor. Councillor Munch, you have the floor. Go ahead.
I'd like to know, if we're going to appoint somebody who has political aspirations, I think it'd be good for council to know that. I think again, how council members vote is their intention. But I again believe in democracy and fairness. I believe in great governance. I've always rested on that. And given that we just had a vote for how this by-election is taking place, knowing full well that we're going to have this appointment process, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's unfair to know, and that the members, if they want to put their name forward, to understand is there this as an altruism, or is this have any political connotation to it? And if I'm going to cast my ballot, I would like to know what the intention of the members are, which would affect how I vote going forward on an appointment process. So I'll leave it to the member to decide how they want to act, because I haven't heard the member speak up on why they should be a regional councillor. I do not believe in an anointment, and I would like to make sure, because we elected one member of council to be our alternate in an elected fashion. Now we're going forwards on an appointment process, and I really haven't heard anything from the member about why they want to do this, what they've done in the past. I have been monitoring all the York Region Council meetings. I'm not sure if other members of council have been as active as I have. So I really would like to know that. I don't have a regional councillor interest at this point, so I'm not lobbying for myself. But I am lobbying, I would like to have people are going to be there who are going to be the best, for those reasons. So I asked the member to speak so that we can hear, and then talk about going forward. And maybe, we can talk about alternative process as opposed to just somebody appointing somebody to say they want to run without hearing what that member is going to do, outlawing any other member of the council. I think we should put a process in place that is going to be for the best interest of the governance of the people of Richmond Hill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Munch. Anyone else want to speak to this? The nomination of Councillor Chan. I do want to clarify, Mr. Clerk, this is an interim role that is being proposed, that after the mayor's vacancy is fulfilled, then we revisit the regional councillor position?
To you, Mr. Chair, this is an appointment until the mayor's office is permanently filled. As soon as, assuming council does pass the bylaw for a by-election on October 13th, the day that I certify the election results from the by-election and swear in the new mayor, this appointment ends. It is only until that seat is filled permanently. That is a legislative requirement.
Okay. I see no other discussion. We'll put this to a vote. All those in favor? Okay, no one wants a roll call? Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Okay,
Sorry, you didn't hear me. I couldn't get my sign up. Can you record a vote on that, please?
okay, Mr. Clerk, you want a recorded vote then?
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair, voting on the motion by Councillor West, seconded by Regional Local Councillor Pirelli to appoint an alternative regional councillor. Councillor Munch.
So we're voting on to appoint a regional councillor, not necessarily to appoint an individual to regional councillor. Is that correct?
I apologize. Allow me to appoint Ward 6 Councillor Godwin Chan as an alternative member of regional council pursuant to subsection 2672 of the Municipal Act, to act as an alternate member of regional council until the vacancy in the office of the mayor of Richmond Hill is permanently filled, and to direct me to notify the regional clerk of such appointment.
As he never said he wanted to speak up? No.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Silovitz.
Yes.
Thank you. Acting Mayor DePaula.
No.
Thank you. Regional Local Councillor Pirelli.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Barros.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor West. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor West. And that motion does carry. If I might, Mr.
Congratulations, Councillor Chan.
If I might, Mr. Acting Mayor, before council adopts the confirming bylaw, do we just have a motion to receive all the correspondence and then move
Moved by
to?
Regional Councillor Pirelli, seconded by Councillor West. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that carries. That was 39 items of correspondence that was submitted for this meeting. Okay, and it concludes our business. I need a motion for the confirmatory bylaw to proceed. Thank you, Regional Councillor Pirelli, David, Councillor West. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And a motion to adjourn from Councillor Barros, seconded by Councillor West. All in favor? Any opposed?